Alright, so after what happened with Bone, Grayson decides to take the Chimeran biped and go to the rescue of Cartwright.
Again, I guess
And
Grayson...
yeah, like he said, in Luxembourg, the Chimera are building the ships we're gonna use to invade America. It's just that the Europeans don't know what they are for.
Given that this was made, I believe, after Retribution 2, that's a good way to connect.
First of all, it was done at the same time as Resistance 2, Jova, so technically speaking, still after Fall of Man, but it was slightly before 2.
Question,
in terms of development.
Which game came out first, though?
You call that
this one.
In that case, then, they were probably trading notes.
I admit I felt a little guilty about destroying Bouchard's research, but the stunt they pulled afterwards, leaving me for dead, fixed all that. Screw the Maquis, they've done me a favour. Now I'm free to fight this war my way. So why did I tell Cartwright I come helping out of another jam? I don't know, maybe I learned something in Rotterdam. Maybe I can't win this war by myself. Or then again, maybe I just needed an excuse to head towards Luxembourg. Rain and Mallory will end up there eventually.
Could this be character development on our protagonist's part?
Well, it's more of a case of, everyone is converging from that direction. So for the time being, Grayson is actually, taking the occasion to save Cartwright.
I mean, again, though, Grayson at the start of the game probably would not have cared 2 bits about Cartwright. And in this current circumstance, he probably would have just done his own thing.
The cavalry's here, Cartwright.
Grayson, brilliant timing. Catch up to Bravo and help.
Alright, what are we gonna do with our Metal Gear?
But only for the refugees in Luxembourg. I'm not in your army, Cartwright. You kicked me out.
Alright.
Let's see what you've got.
Classic type of mech shooter, you have 2 type of weapons, machine gun and missiles, each of them with a cooling off button, and plenty of targets to destroy. Your mech has surprisingly a decent amount of health bar when you really get down to it, so you are able to sustain a lot of damage technically, and it gets replenished with every checkpoint.
I guess
so this actually is it's actually pretty fun.
I guess it would need to, since it doesn't seem like there's really that many ways to dodge enemy fire.
Yeah.
So, make your tank a tank.
And as you can see, there you go, I'm just mowing down the enemies with ease. Again, this is just a bit of a power trip moment.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's
like
pretty
fun.
cool.
But yeah, no,
and again, it's a vehicle section, things that were severely missing from Resistance 2 and 3.
Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this game
also, check this out, if I recall correctly. If I aim at that line...
Boom.
The entire bridge collapsed, killing all the cameos on top of it. I think I may actually also get... Okay, no. I forgot if I did get a trophy for that or not, but well, alas. No, now I remember, because I think I mentioned, trophy list in this game is piece easy, because it's 1 for completing each chapter, so like, I think 20 bronze or something, finishing the game. 1 for using every type of weapon that the game gives you, so it's very easy to get. 1 for dying once, and 1 for killing enemies just with the auger, a total amount of enemy with the auger, just with the auger. Not sure why specifically that, but again, it's very easy.
Okay then. But yeah, no, I will say, so far this game seems to be potentially shaping up to be the complete package that no other Resistance game has really managed. Like,
I get the feeling Ben looked at all 3 games made by Insomniac and tried their best to just cherry pick the best aspects.
Well, they couldn't have looked at all 3 because this was definitely made before 2 and 3 were released.
Oh, really?
It was done around the same time of 2, because like I said, you can connect it on the PS3, linking it with Resistance 2, and you do get bonus content, technically.
I definitely would take a bet that they took notes from what the team were doing with 2, though, in regards to how this lines up with the story of 2.
Yes, I think so, too.
I guess.
And yeah, I guess also what comes back, the small trenches where you need to destroy the power cores.
Wow, that... Well, yeah.
Of course, prioritize the Titans for obvious reasons. They have weapons that can actually deal a bit more damage to your mech.
Again, unless this game throws some bad curveballs, and, you know, assuming, you know, unless it, like, doesn't... man,
But in doubt to
Dwibs.
start blowing shit.
Dwibs, what did I told you?
Hey, that's a valuable lesson to learn in life when you're in a war.
I told you once, I told you twice. Holy shit.
So it's your from gym mentality. Like
Yeah.
Eat dirt!
Yeah, people like Earthworm Jim when he did it.
Well, that's the game thing. In the I like the cartoon better. In the cartoon, Doug Landale gave Jim a basic thing where they like, I'll solve this problem with my 4 brains. And then the 4 brains are like, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm tired, where are the girls? And then Jim's like, okay, when all else fails, start blasting! So yeah, this is Earthworm Jim mentality.
Earthworm Jim was secretly British? I mean,
why not?
when you get,
he's voiced by Dan Castellaneta.
you know, when you get down to it, a bit of the British tactics during the Revolutionary War did resort to blowing and burning stuff
Alright,
down.
you do get a skill point, however. I did remember you getting a bonus, you know.
Oh snap, several Titans.
Quite a lot, actually, but as you can see, they're manageable, so they're just there to intimidate you a bit.
Give like a little bit of praise to implicit conversions, because I recently tried the new Sly Cooper PS2 emulation that they released on the 4 and 5, and yeah, it runs great. So implicit conversions is still doing real good work.
They even added a complete different set of trophies compared to the one of the PS3 HD version.
Well, yeah, these emulations are done completely separate from.
That is true, but I thought if they were going to just use the template, you know, since there's already a template of you know, a trophy list, you might as well just recycle that. But no, they bother to spice things up a bit. It's slightly more challenging than the HD collection one.
Question, is it like, you know, strictly just an emulation, like no touch-ups whatsoever?
If I recall correctly,
it's an emulation, but you have enhancements, actually. The game runs at 1080p, you can rewind, so...
However, the frame rate basically stays the same, if I recall. You can switch, if I recall correctly, between PAL and TCS.
Yes, the download is 8 gigabytes because it has both ISOs. It has the American ISO and the European ISO. By default, it selects the American ISO for you.
So if you want to play the game at regular 60 FPS, you might as well stick to the American version.
Yeah, I prefer playing the American version of this game anyway because Nate Fox created a character and he named him Sly Cooper, and that's the name I prefer. I don't understand why Sony Europe thought, you know what, this game needs a name change. Sly
Again, Pedro, it's like what the Cadicro said canon. Apparently, according to the UK, Cooper is a swear word or something.
I guess.
And and when they changed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to Tony Hawk skateboarding around here.
Yeah, because Proscator clearly is
only
the
for
swear word.
only for the first game, though, mind you.
Also,
Again, it's just arbitrary.
That's right. Try for help.
The reason these new ones have an option for playing the European version, because a lot of these European versions have multi-5 language, so some people might need that. But obviously, if you're someone like me who just plays in English, it's better to just stick with the American version.
And the trade-off is that the PAL version runs at 50 Hz because it was a thing to those godforsaken German televisions.
Yeah.
apparently the televisions were just that good that the whole PAL region had to adopt that.
Trust me, Joba, nobody liked that.
No, trust me, nobody liked that. But
Really just begs the question why they stuck with it for so long.
Because
Trust
those
me,
were the ones that were selling more, so it was a bit of a monopoly on the market for a while.
It's much more simple than you think, Jova. Laziness.
Laziness and a monopoly.
Well, I'm going to help you, Jova, because Deji was actually asking me how it was just earlier, privately. One of the heads of implicit conversions was part of the PSX2 team at some point, aka the PS2 emulator.
Wow.
So this guy has been working on PS2 emulation for years at this point. This guy knows his stuff.
All right, so now you had to fight gear versus gear. Actually, 2 versus 2, but they're easy to take down.
I guess we have.
And don't
this...
worry, if I recall correctly, either the seizure rockets are not there, or I do cut them away.
I guess we have the super gear essentially.
Yes, Pedro.
Now, to give Sony credit, they did get the best possible people for the job. So.
They also started retroactively adding a trophy list to games that did not have it when it came to the classic ones, because you just discovered it, like Toy Story 2. So, again, getting the platinum on that is gonna be fun for me. Again, also to mention quickly, once again, for a section like this on the trenches, this score is also trying again.
It is.
Again, I have to give props to the composer. Sure, like I said, like also Dweebs noted, I think, when it came to the first 2 Bioshock, the score was not particularly super noticeable because it was more, prevalent the license of songs that were typical of the time period. But Infinite definitely had more prevalence in the score, so there is that.
Cartwright, I'm exiting the trench, making a beeline straight for you. Get the bloody hell back! The surface is company patrol!
Grayson used the machine's ID beacon to penetrate deep into the trenches. The only way Grayson could survive in the Chimera construction zone was to navigate the vast network of earthworks, staying below ground level, where roaming fleets of drones and machines could not easily find him.
Literal trench warfare.
While Cartwright headed towards the second Earth movement, Grayson worked his way through the Chimera construction zone. Miles of
What was
transport
Chimera?
traversed on foot. He had only hours to stop the Earth.
I guess he abandoned the tank.
Well, it was shot down in the last cutscene, if you noticed.
Oh, right. Okay, so one of those.
I think he's gonna even mention that anyway.
I'm not in your
So.
arse.
Go on.
Cartwright radio me in Bonn, desperate for help. That's not the Cartwright I know. The man's a hero, so when he gets hot in the collar, you know the situation's gone pear-shaped. Multiply that by a factor of 10 if he turns to me for help. Choosing to come bail Cartwright's arse out of the fire cost me my place in the Maquis, which is no big loss. But I also lost range trust. Pretty broads are in short supply these days.
Interesting. Are we learning a bit of backstory regarding you and Cartwright?
Well, they did mention that he was in Splatoon, and Grayson never got over the fact that Cartwright did not really spoke kindly for the Zerg, or his desertion.
It sounds like, there are some layers between these two. Again, I'm not going to act like this is revolutionary writing or something I've never seen before, but...
It is something, however.
Yes, going off of, Retribution protagonist, Grayson is, holy cow, an actual complete character, it looks like.
I have to say, because, again, I only have played the Days Gone before this, and like I said, I don't think it's particularly bad, but I did find it for a good part boring. Serviceable, but worth the price that I got it, which was basically for free. I'm pretty sure it has a target audience, but it just was a bit boring. But I have to be honest, this game is convinced me to actually give a try to the Siphon Filter franchise, because I'm curious to see what these writers can do with a proper action series.
Oh yeah, from all the research I've done and look, after Bubsy 3D, Ben Studio just went on a massive glow up. I guess
they kind of are the underdog currently among their studios, because again, during the PS3 era, they were busy doing these spin-offs for the portable systems. Again, there was this, then there was 2 Uncharted games for the PS Vita. If I recall correctly, they were supposed to do something more, but then they did Days Gone, and unfortunately, since they got screwed over by that, I think right now they're developing something else entirely, when they wanted to make a sequel to that. But otherwise, they have been trying their asses a bit for both the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2 era. So
that was the weak part.
As was mentioned before, Sony really just snapped them up for as far as we know, no good reason, because the last thing they had made was Bubsy 3D. So the fact that a company gave them a chance after that, I think motivated them to really, really make sure that they never messed up again.
Well, keep in mind, Joe, it's not the first time they've done they did that before, like with the same thing happened with Guerrilla Games, because Guerrilla Games came up to them, hey, you guys don't have an attempt at compete with Halo, how about we make it for you guys? So they decided, okay, do it. And then eventually, by the time Killzone 2 was around, they bought Guerrilla Games, because why not?
Oh no,
Well-
I get it, Pedro.
well,
but
the main
I think
difference-
what Java means is that, again, because I don't remember, let me check in the meantime. Like, what was Guerrilla Games, resume until that point? Because it's one thing
That's
to.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like they got them for seemingly no reason. Like
Okay, but my point is, it's one thing to say, like, say Naughty Dog having stuff like Keep the Thief, which I've already heard, is perfectly fine without being special. It's another to have made fucking Bubsy 3D.
Yeah. Basically, Pedro, my point is like, Guerrilla Games, they're one thing, but Ben Studio had made Bubsy 3D, like one of the worst games of all time. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it turned out to match up well, but I do wonder, what was the logic? Like, think about it like this. This would be like Sony, or heck, okay, this would be like any company. Well, okay, I guess Concept isn't a good example because Level 5 did do just that, but I chalked that up more so to, like, being friends with Inafune or something in that regard. Okay,
sorry.
better example,
Jota.
I guess this would be like, say, if Sony had bought up Quantic Dream after all their dirty laundry got aired. Like, for as much as we don't like a lot of the David Cage games, they did make the money, but imagine if Sony, like, bought them after they had pretty much crashed, essentially.
I understand. But it's two things, Jova. Like one, like when it comes to the level 5 Concept, that's just, again, remember, this is the guy who wrote Ni no Kuni 2, the guy who believes the game that defends that everybody deserves a second chance. So I will give Hino credit that he practices what he preaches. So there's that. So that's cool, at least.
Oh yes.
As for Ben Studio, that's the weird part, Joe. Like, as you said, yeah, the David Cage games were making money. That's the thing, Joe. If you look up, it's gone. The game sold 10 million units, so it was incredibly successful for a new IP, especially, right? So the fact that they didn't allow them to make the sequel is still really weird to me.
That is weird, yeah. But like I said,
I mean,
I'm
I
just.
get that the game was not a critical darling, and like Theo said, some people like us probably don't think it's the bee's knees. But it's still sold tremendous, so clearly there is an audience for this thing.
Okay, I don't know the details, so I'm just literally guessing for this, but is it possible it might be because the game director went on a tirade on social media?
Oh, did he? I'm not aware of
let me see the detail. But in the meantime, let me use also this to mention quickly. Game-wise, you're basically traversing the trenches if you're seeing, and having the machinery, going around being your terrain. Again, very formal for a set piece. Guerrilla, before working on the first Killzone, was actually called Lost Boys Games previously, and did a couple of portable games, 2 for the Game Boy Color, one of them being a Tiny Toons game, license game, one other called Rhino Rumble, and then 2 Game Boy Advance games called Black Belt Challenge and Invader. Then they did for the PS2, PC, and Xbox a game for idols called Shell Shock Nam 67, which I don't know how that is, but it is a shooter. And after that, we started working on Killzone.
Interesting.
Let me get quickly in the meantime.
As for what Gavin, what's his name? Gavin Edwards? No, that's a different person. Like. I know
John
it's
Gavin, I think.
That's it. John Gavin. That's it.
Let me see.
I have no idea of whatever he said on social media. I don't know anything.
Once again, the music is clearly giving it its effort.
Yeah. Okay, let me see.
Because
sorry.
Since you guys were talking about it earlier, because it's interesting as well. Because normally, games as bad as Bubsy 3D would normally, if not kill a studio stone dead, it wouldn't exactly leave many people clamoring for their service.
It was a very different time in the game industry. The games were much cheaper to produce, so a big failure like that wasn't nearly as devastating to a company as it is nowadays.
Like, believe it or not,
because a lot of it also doesn't help that around that time also there were quite a few series that tried to make the switch from 2D to 3D, but did it so badly they died. When Jin.
I will also give Ben Studio this. They weren't owned by any company that would have shuttered them after Bubsy 3D's failure. Like, they were just licensed to make Bubsy 3D, but they were never owned by Accolade last I checked.
See, the sad part about Earthworm Jim, Dwibs, is that it was Earthworm Jim 3D wasn't even made by the original team. It was made by a completely different studio. And David Perry himself, over the years, has even said that he regrets, in hindsight, not sticking around longer with the IP. Because after 2, they moved on to different things, like that MDK game that keeps bringing up, right? Yeah, David Perry actually, in hindsight, says, yeah, in hindsight, I should have protected the IP a bit more.
No, makes a guy
I checked
wonder.
in the meantime. While the director, did appear on a podcast and complained a bit about the fact about suggesting that if you like the game, you should buy it at full price, which made it a bit maybe coming under fire for this remark. Doesn't seem to be. But according to, pardon me, because the source of this seems, is these days a bit, cuckoo in terms of, personality. But according to David Jeff, the creator of David Jaffe, creator of Twisted Metal and the original creator of God of War, who these days spends more time being an old man, yells at cloud mode. He seems to imply that the reason Days Gone and support and Ben Studios also were propped up was thanks to Sean Layden, and the moment that he left, the studio was kinda, thrown a bit in the bin because the executives at Sony did not care anymore.
That's the weird part. No, that I get. I would get that if the game didn't sell that much, but it sold 10 million units. I mean, that's the weird part. I get the feeling
Was
It's
it one
not
of
the
those...
first case, Pedro, when we have encountered cases of, corporate suits that despite a product selling very well, they decide to, shut it down for, personal petty.
Trust me, Teo. I get it. I'm a person of interest fan. I know.
Well, that's what they mentioned. Like I said, I think it might be a case of that.
I wonder, could it also have been a case where 10 million units just was not enough in Sony's eyes? Like,
doesn't seem to be, otherwise they would have mentioned. Remember, Square Enix did not have a problem mentioning that, so I get the idea if it was the case, they would have mentioned it.
Not to mention, remember, it's a PS4 game. Like, if it was a game now, there's like, because I get the feeling again, like I said, 10 million units for a new IP. I'm pretty sure the game was very profitable for considering that number. Like, because this was still before the budget started getting even more ridiculous than they already were. I get the okay. The only possible solution is the person of interest situation. Herman is apparently not that big a fan of the game.
Well, that was right after the game came out, so I don't remember if it was like around 2019.
Herman took over alongside Jim Ryan. So yeah, he would be Herman. I thought it was Jim specifically who said it because he probably allows those decisions more to Herman probably.
Well, so the point is that it seems that there was someone who actually, might have had, personal BS.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sorry. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I do appreciate that they don't allow sales to dictate everything, because while sales are of course a big thing, they can also be not an indicative of a quality game, right? So who knows? Maybe they looked at the game and, much like Theo, they found the game a bit boring.
Or, well, then again, Pedro, we have to remember that this is also the same company that, despite all the shit that Neil Druckmann did, they actively promoted him.
Oh, trust me. Well, that is true. That is true, but here's the thing. Unlike Ben's studio, Naughty Dog is a very studio that has a lot of connections with the top brass at Sony, which is not the case with Ben.
That said, didn't Sony also still endorse David Cage despite all the bullcrap Quantic Dream's been up to as well?
Well,
Oh no, so Sony aren't angels.
You yourself said, Jova. You yourself said no. Shortly, right after those allegations came out, Sony distanced themselves from Quantic Dream.
Did they?
My point-
I thought they still had a Quantic Dream game coming, but I digress.
No, they're not.
No,
The next game that Quantic Dream is quote-unquote making, as far as we know, is the Star Wars one.
The allegations started happening in 2019, which was a year after Detroit Become Human, and after that, and that was the last game of their contract, and after that, Quantic Dream went off their merry way.
My point being, I just get the idea there was potential BS to that.
To give you an idea, Jova, this you know how Sony has recently been making a big push on Steam with their PlayStation PC branding now.
Yes.
They don't even despite Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, and Detroit being Sony IPs, they don't even manage those on PC. They allow Quantic Dream to do. They don't even want to be part of the marketing of the.
Well,
the PC
again, it seems to be a distribution thing for convenience sake, because remember, a lot of PC port from Microsoft stuff were actually handled instead by the Embracer Group via THQ Nordic. So it might be just a case of simple distribution. And I noticed that because a lot of even a lot of other games that might have a a big publisher behind them, like say on console, maybe instead for a Steam release they are like self-published instead. So it might be just a case of simplifying things for distribution's sake. There we go. Anyway, in the meantime, might as well mention again, these trenches, as you can see, are giving way instead to a sort of a refinery of some kind, where a metallurgy refinery where the Chimera are basically constructing these ships, and you can see also molten metal, which counts as the floor is lava. You just have to pay. You didn't notice, but this level in particular loves the drones. Consider these very mechanical, so it keeps swarming you with them. So you need to watch out. I don't remember what the drones with the blue camera actually do, if they actually harm you or not. But I can tell you that they're not as dangerous at the very least as the one with the red camera. All right, let's get inside. Well, a bit more like on the other area, but yeah.
I love what you've done to the place.
Okay. Again, at the very least, it's something. Grayson at the very least, even when he's completely alone, at least bothers to, speak a bit. Fuck. There you go, much better. And yeah, for obvious reasons, don't walk on those zones.
You die instantly, I take it?
It's okay, well, not technically. It's literally the floor is lava.
Ah, okay.
Played for keeps.
Of course, instead the Chimera can just, walk free on that.
Of course they can. I do like games that go the extra step to have mooks also be affected by the environment. Bonus points that they can literally attack each other too in friendly fire.
All the school FPSs actually had this mechanic. It was just slightly underutilized in fighting, particularly Doom, with the demons in fighting. It's just that you need to trigger it under specific conditions. Uh-oh.
Oh boy. Looks like the cavalry has come.
Well, not for me, but...
Yep.
Alright, let's see.
Boop, got your nose.
There you go. 3 rockets, if I recall correctly.
I love how they just spontaneously combust after they've been shot enough.
Remember, it's their cooling system that they have on their back, failing and essentially them overheating.
It's funny because normally, these guys are all about the cold and whatnot, but apparently this guy is so hot that without a cooling system, he'll explode.
No, all of them are technically true, but the cooling system seems, is specifically to avoid them overheating. They did even the reports of the first game did mention the fact that the Chimeran managed to regenerate their wounds because they have a hyper-stimulated metabolism. That as a consequence of that, they will overheat, and as a result, they need the cooling system literally fused onto their backs.
So the explosions are just most prominent with the Titans.
Yeah, it's basically just a flavor to showcase their depth. But like I said, in the Insomniac games, you showcase it that they have location-based damage, and if you actually, oh man, there's Mallory. Fuck's sake!
Well, I guess Mallory's dead.
Bravo company's gone. Grayson, double time. You have to take out that Earth mover on your own. Can you handle it?
Yeah. But only because you asked politely.
Love you too, Grayson. What a character.
Grayson had to navigate a maze of alien technology to find the second Earth mover. Destroying it would not be easy, but the lives of thousands depended on Grayson's ability to stop the Earth mover.
Well, I
before it
guess in
reached
Grayson's
Luxembourg.
favor, he gets to do what he wants, blowing up a ton of Chimera on his
Basically.
own.
That's all he asked.
I love what you've done to... Yeah.
Your mom. Go on, Luis.
When Cartwright described the size of these Earth movers, I chalked it up as more of his theatrics. The kind he used at my trial, where he described my desertion as the greatest military crime possible. He knows better. I may have left my post, but never my duty. I destroyed more conversion centers in 2 months by myself than he did with a full division. He's just bitter because I was once his shining recruit. In his mind, when I dishonored the British Royal Marines, I dishonored him.
Oh, I get it now. Clearly, you two are going through a divorce and need to kiss and make
Yeah,
up already.
I didn't leave my post. I just abandoned the army.
Key command, this is Colonel Melody.
Unfortunately, Jova Mallory survived.
Luxembourg. Request
Oh well, maybe he'll get better.
Got better.
How did he survive that plane crash? He must have gotten out of a parachute.
At least I'm not stuck on foot for nothing.
Alright, now we have to, destroy the Earth mover before it reaches, reaches Luxembourg. But again, thankfully you don't have a time limit. And the gimmick of this level is that you destroy occasionally part of his equipment to create a safe passageway onto the molten metal.
That's handy.
And again, at the end you're kinda having a sort of boss fight with a machine, you'll see.
True, yeah, that is a thing. The gameplay's nice, but the boss ratio seems to be relatively lower. I'll give.
Yeah, like I said, they are present in this. It's just that this franchise as a whole is not particularly, super rich when it comes to boss fights, unfortunately.
Yeah. Something it kind of shares in common with, I guess, the Arkham games. Well, mainly the ones before City. I guess almost anyone other than City, because... Okay, I'd say City and Origins have the best boss fights, but otherwise, Arkham boss fights can be pretty naff or are essentially just elite mooks.
I mean, to be fair, before City there was only Asylum, right? So...
Well, I guess in that case, it's Asylum and Knight that have the boss issue. Origins also as well if you're not going out of your way to fight all the assassins.
Okay, that's the thing, Joe, but I argue that the best boss fight in the game, which is Deathstroke, is one of the mandatories. The ones that are optional are Deadshot, which is just the... Well, okay, hold on. Deadshot, which is just a, a Predator, section. Shiva, which is, yes, a nice encounter, but nothing too special. She really is just a glorified monk,
Where are you blokes?
And I don't think there's anyone else when it comes to the optional. So again, when it comes to offering the best on the table, the game does make you actually find that rather than relegating to optional stuff.
Well, there's one thing you gotta remember. the reason that, you know, the assassins tend to be regarded as such is because quite a few of them you don't even get to fight. Electrocution or anyone?
Okay, that's just him, because, you know, Killer Croc you fight in the prologue. Then you have Deathstroke. Copperhead is the boss of the warehouse area, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, where you find the real Black Mass.
Bane is the arc boss of generally of the entire game, you know. Then there's we mentioned Deadshot in Shiva.
Firefly.
Right, Firefly. I guess is it Firefly? No, Firefly is actually mandatory because of what happens on the Gotham Bridge. So again, basically only one of them is taken out technically, you know, during a cutscene, and because his boss fight is basically a joke. And two are optional, but otherwise the ratio is still relatively stacked.
I will give you that. Although not all the boss fights are the best, but yeah, no. You know what? Yeah, I'll stick with it. City and Origins have overall good boss fights, and Origins also had that excellent Mr. Freeze DLC.
I still don't understand why Warner Brothers is so hesitant at re-releasing Origins.
Me neither, Pedro. I think
Yeah,
pretty much no one understands that.
Like,
I mean, I get that it wasn't made by Rocksteady, but it's arguably better than Knight.
And Knight, well, that's the thing. Even regardless of, you know, what we think of quality and relation to other games, it's still referenced. It's still part of the continuity and referenced in Knight.
definitely.
You know? So it has elements, you know, that are not discarded by the canon, and you think they would be kept.
Like, the weird thing is, maybe if this were back when Odyssey was, and I argue Odyssey was overhated, but maybe if this were back when Odyssey was hated on, I get that, but no, by the time... Sorry, yeah, Origins. Origins was hated, essentially. Maybe I could get that, even though I always liked Origins. I always thought it was overhated. And the thing is, by the time of the collection, nowadays Origins is a lot more positively regarded, so it felt all the more baffling to cut that out. Like,
You guys are wondering because I did play it, you know, but not many people did. So out of all of us, I think I'm the only one who actually played it. So I can tell you, Origins Blackgate is technically fine. Nothing too special, but it's perfectly, you know, decent as a Metroidvania, you know, adapting to the Arkham formula.
Yeah, I never got around to playing Blackgate.
It also has a couple of elements that go nowhere. People thought that the movie Assault on Arkham was supposed to reprise from that, but no, I can tell you that it doesn't.
Yeah, the main consensus I've heard is that it's easily skippable. Like, I don't hear much...
It technically is skippable, but I can tell you that it's still enjoyable. So again, I'll be sure to record that one myself.
Sure. Cool, yeah, you can probably use Citra.
Well, no, there's an HD version.
Oh my god,
on PS3. I don't remember if there's a PC port, but I can tell you that the PS3 version that I played, you know, works just fine. Okay.
Blackgate is on Steam, yes.
I legit forgot there was an HD version of Blackgate.
You have to remember, Jova, that similar to Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, it was a game, also similar to Resident Evil Revelations, it was a game originally released, you know, on the 3DS, but then it got a proper home console release in quote-unquote HD.
If only we got a better PC port of Knight. Because the console versions of Knight are still locked at 30.
Did they ever get around to fixing the PC port of Knight? Because holy cow, that release.
There were patches that made it better and serviceable, but you still recommended that you get a specific fan fix that they made.
Like, look, just for reference, the PC port of Arkham Knight was so bad that for a time they were selling that game for as low as $4.99.
That and they should also try to get around to remind me. Does the Arkham collection that released on PS4 and Xbox One, does Arkham Asylum have all of its DLC? And I do mean all, including the PS3 exclusive DLC.
I don't remember me trying it. I did play that version of the game, but I don't remember. You know, it's been a while, and I don't remember trying the extra stuff.
Not that it bothers me too much because I don't really like what they did with the visuals for the Arkham collection, honestly.
Well,
I do have the original release of Asylum on my Steam account, but it's one of those few games that did not even started despite me, you know, installing and everything. So I'll need to probably tinker a bit on it.
Well, here's the thing too. When it comes to playing Arkham Asylum, the best way to play Arkham, in my opinion, because like I said, I don't like the the changes they made to the visual direction in Arkham Asylum when they made the new release for the collection, right? But like, play the Steam version, but don't play the actual version that's on Steam. Get the Fit Girl repack, where the good people, the good people at that modding community added back in the PS3 exclusive DLC onto the Steam version.
Well, that's content technically. I was talking about the gaming itself. Like I said, it was one of those games that I did got for a long time ago when it was very cheap on sale. But again, I'll mention more later.
Cartwright, burrows are here.
Acknowledged. Oh, avoid their clouds. And I mean that. The rankest thing I've ever smelled. And I eat British food.
First of all, very funny Cartwright. Second, it's basically what Cartwright said is that when you're dealing with a burrower's, tunnel, outside of having to deal with a fuck ton of leapers, you have to watch out because some zones will have a poison gas, but you have to watch out.
Okay, here it is.
There you go. Basically, what happened, Pedro, is that I don't know what kind of version is the one. Again, it was the one that they bought before. It was the Return to Arkham stuff was announced.
Sure.
It was one of the things. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it has a mini launcher that basically requires the setting, and then it doesn't even launch. So I'll have to check it out on my own.
Rocksteady, when they originally made the game in 2009, they released it on PS3, 360, and Steam. So that's the original Steam version by Rocksteady themselves.
Well, I think it was originally done for the Games for Live initiative and then only later ported to Steam.
That I do not know. But the point is, the Arkham collection was only for PS4 and Xbox One. There's no PC version of the Arkham collection because they just thought, well, the Steam version's already there, so they thought they'd
Sure.
But just to give you guys an idea, basically, audience, if you want to know what I'm talking about, Google Images Arkham Asylum PS3 versus PS4 and you'll find it. I don't really like what they did with the visuals in the PS4 version of Arkham Asylum, like the dark, gritty visuals of the original were completely butchered, in my opinion. So I don't know what the fuck did, but yeah.
Shooting at the hive there, Tio?
Yeah, like I said, similar to the first game, the nest, house leapers, and considering how much of an assholes, are in the game, I don't want to take my chances and I rather risk, a rocket, for the sake of actually destroying them. And as you can see, also there is the poison gas. I just need to watch out and, wait until I defeated the hordes of leapers, so it basically retreats. Fuck.
There's no shortage of these guys here, I see.
No. Like I said, they technically function the same way they did in the regular Insomnia games. It's just that they're a bit more, tricky because they tend to dodge a bit more your bullets and because of their more agile.
But yeah, I have no fucking clue what the fuck happened to the visuals in the Arkham collection. Like, seriously, like, so much texture and so much cool of the lighting was completely fucked up. I have no idea what the hell happened.
Alright, now it's time to stop the Earth Mover.
Report, damn you!
It's a pretty big one.
For you.
The Earth Movers are closing in on the Maquis fortress. Evacuation is impossible.
Parker, don't start the evac yet.
Well, I just said it's impossible. We can't start anyway.
Well, I make the impossible possible.
Do you pay any attention?
That be my focus, mate. That's more Australian than British, but...
Well, two of those, the Lassie are Australian, so...
That was such an interesting direction they chose.
I honestly don't remember if in the original Japanese dub they had a particular accent to reflect that.
They probably gave them like the Kansai accent or something like that, probably.
But again, in universe it kind of makes sense because Pulse is treated kind of like Australia with very dangerous wildlife and a place where humans will probably never leave.
Okay. In that case, yeah, it makes sense that they would make that Australia.
It's yeah, no, but like Joe said, no, there must be some kind of Japanese thing that they did with the accents for those two. That again, the same logic that we've seen plenty of times before, like where
like with Kate Sith.
And Trippy, right? With the Osaka accent gets replaced with the Welsh accent.
Here's how the stuff in the Earth Mover works. It's very simple, actually. You go to both of these extremities, and deal with the lever. That each time you do that will spawn a bunch of enemies, so you basically have to deal with them. Again, it's relatively simple, and rather than actually being a boss fight, it's more of a mini level in its own with a set of hordes. But again, it's technically a bit more engaging than destroying the strobing lights in the tower in the first and third game. So there is that.
So I guess we can chalk up the reason that bodies disappear upon death is just that they're burning.
Yeah, you can use that. Remember, in the Insomnia games, most of the bodies did actually, remain on the ground, and only, way later, disappeared for texture, saving, for performance saving.
That's honestly why I assume that only the Titans were the ones who spontaneously combusted, since, yeah, they were really the ones who did that on screen.
It's kind of funny that the games like Final Fantasy VII Remake tries to actually give a proper justification on why, an enemy disappears when you actually properly kill them. The idea that they actually do return to the live stream is actually kind of cute.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense with the mythology.
Yeah.
Which
and again,
means
it's used to justify, the visual of the disappearance of what the original game had.
It's like the anti-version. It's like the anti-version of Metal Gear Solid 3. Everything
and speaking
you killed
of Metal
is actually
Gear, that's your
captured.
final opponent here. And yes, of course, this one, since it's a straightforward fight, this also has the seizure rockets.
But yeah, like I was saying, unlike Metal Gear Solid 3 and Final Fantasy 7, everything and everyone you killed is actually going to help you by the end. Since, live streams say...
Just like in Paper Alpha and Dark Force.
Do you think they had Metal Gear Solid 3 or...
No, they did not.
Especially... No, Taylor's right, especially because in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we get to learn a lot more about the logistics of the live stream compared to the original.
Or, like I said, they're actually renaming not religion, well, it is kind of like a cult. They're renaming the way of thinking into quote-unquote planetology.
Well, technically that's what it is. I mean,
like I said, you'll be able to see as we dwell more into Ever Crisis. But again, it's interesting that the remake in general is kind of trying to push a bit more the direction of the mythology of the planet to be more an actual religious cult with the pros and cons that it has. Again, that's fuck! It blew my cover. It's part of what happened with Before Crisis, because that game did showcase the a period of time in which Avalanche was really the worst evil, but more on another time. Explosion and the frame rate dies.
It's epic slow motion.
Even the music's cutting out a bit.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh my!
Like I said, it's still it's an emulation problem, unfortunately.
I can only imagine how badly the game probably ran on the original PSP, because the original PSP, when it comes to a lot of these more demanding games, was known for having very poor frame rates. I can only imagine how bad it was in the original hardware.
Anyway, tuning for the next part, where we see if the Maquis actually, are thankful towards Grayson for what he did here. See ya.
See you then.
See ya.